This sound was recorded by a spacecraft near the largest planet in the solar system. Many people think it sounds like alien voices. But in reality, you are hearing something much more amazing. These are colossal electrical processes taking place in Jupiter's magnetic field, so powerful that they can affect the space around the planet.
Telescopes are the all-seeing eyes of humanity. If it weren't for them, many would still believe that the Earth is the center of the universe, and that it stays in the void solely thanks to the efforts of a giant turtle and hardworking elephants. But besides realizing that our planet is just another celestial body like the rest, thanks to orbital observatories, humanity had a revelation. We occupy an extremely insignificant place in the multi-billion cosmic hierarchy. Moreover, Earth may not be the only place where life already exists or is about to emerge. The Kepler mission, launched in 2009, changed the way we think. NASA's Space Observatory has become the best exoplanet detector to date. The mission's goal is to study the structure of planetary systems located near their host stars. Kepler paid special attention to celestial bodies located in the Goldilocks zone, that is, the habitable zone around a star. Someone might object now, asking why invest millions in a new orbital station when the sharp eye of the Hubble telescope, our channel's namesake, already exists. The main difference between the devices is that the mobile and easily controlled Hubble, launched into low Earth orbit, can turn in any direction and observe the space around Earth, whereas Kepler orbits the Sun and is aimed deep into the Milky Way, meaning it literally looks into the heart of things. The main observation location of the latter is within the constellations of Cygnus, Lyra, and Draco. The observatory closely examined these constellations at the time. Unfortunately, on October 30, 2018, NASA's official representative Paul Hertz announced the end of the Kepler Space Observatory mission, but data analysis is still ongoing to this day. During its operation, Kepler discovered about 4,700 candidate exoplanets, thousands of which have been fully confirmed. Today we will talk about the most unusual discoveries of the legendary observatory and try to imagine what life could be like on these planets. Kepler 438b, the exoplanet, was discovered by Kepler in the constellation Lyra, at a distance of 470 light-years from Lyra. It has the highest Earth similarity index, but scientists still believe that life as we know it is unlikely here. What causes such pessimism? The behavior of the parent star. Kepler 438, a red dwarf, is several times smaller than the Sun. The planet is in the habitable zone of its star, but that is probably its misfortune. The thing is, about once every 100 days, the celestial body receives a significant dose of radiation, because Kepler 438 is quite an erratic star. Its energy superflares are at least 10 times greater than solar activity and are comparable to the explosion of 100 billion tons of TNT. Therefore, if life does exist on that distant planet, it must be incredibly resistant to the intense radiation background. Otherwise, it would be a very strange society, a cluster of mutants, all suffering from leukemia. However, if the planet has a strong magnetic field, it could partially deflect radiation attacks. Kepler 10b. This is a world of lava and fire. On this planet, it's much hotter than in King's Landing during the treacherous attack of Daenerys Stormborn's dragons. A small iron exoplanet is located 560 light-years away from us. The temperature of this infernal abode offers no hope for the survival of aliens, or Earthlings. Day and night there is incredible heat here, reaching up to 1,500 degrees Celsius. As a result, astronomers suggest that Kepler 10b is covered by oceans of molten iron, and the acceleration due to gravity on it is twice as high as on Earth. Therefore, even landing on this planet is an impossible mission because the G-forces astronauts would experience would hardly be survivable. Kepler 10b orbits in the habitable zone of an old yellow dwarf star that is 12 billion years old, but the object receives about 40% more heat than we do, so the average temperature on the planet is about 60 degrees. Kepler 1649 CE. This planet is located 300 light-years from Earth and is almost the same size as Earth. It is believed that if it has an atmosphere, the temperature on Kepler 1649c would be familiar to us, as it receives about 75% of the energy Earth receives from the Sun. But there is one problem. Kepler 1649 is an unpredictable, overly active red dwarf. Accordingly, the planet will have to meet a lot of additional conditions in order for even microscopic life to arise on its surface. Kepler 16b. In the case of this planet, a comparison not with the epic Game of Thrones, but with the thrilling Star Wars saga would be more appropriate. Kepler 16b can quite reasonably be compared to Tatooine, since it is also located near a pair of stars bound by gravity. The planet is classified as a gas giant, about the size of Saturn. According to astrophysicists' estimates, it is half made of gas, with a significant amount of rocky material. The uniqueness of this object also lies in the fact that it orbits too close to its stars. Previously, it was believed that the formation of planetoids at such a distance was impossible in principle. A year on Kepler 16b is 229 days, and the temperature is drastically different from the desert Tatooine, ranging from -60 to -100 degrees Celsius. If life did exist here, then either droids or the embodiment of universal evil, Darth Vader, could breathe the methane helium air, but not a humanoid being. Kepler 452b. The object is often called Earth 2. The planet is located in the constellation Cygnus, at a distance of 1,402 light-years from us. For some time, the scientific community doubted its existence, which did not stop artists and screenwriters from imagining what it might look like and what its conditions might be. Kepler 452 is a rocky super-Earth orbiting a star similar to our Sun. Where else could life arise if not here? A year there is almost identical to Earth's 385 days. Most likely, the planet will cease to exist after about 3.5 billion years. During this time, its parent star will exhaust its remaining fuel. The average surface temperature on Kepler 452b, not taking into account any possible greenhouse effect, is about 2 degrees. The gravity is presumably twice as strong as on Earth. Therefore, if life is found here, its inhabitants are unlikely to be very large. Kepler 444 concludes our brief overview, a star around which 5 planets, the most compact discovered by the Kepler mission, orbit in a close formation. Kepler 444's planets B through F are slightly larger than Mercury, but not quite reaching the size of Venus. This compact planetary system is located in the constellation Lyra, 116 light-years from Earth. The orange dwarf Kepler 444 is very ancient, about 11 billion years old. Given this fact, it remains a mystery how, in the early days of the universe, when rocks and metals were in short supply, planets could have formed as if by magic. A year on an object close to the star lasts no more than 10 days. Therefore, it is likely that there is extreme heat on its surface. What kind of creatures could survive on boiling planets? It's a mystery. Even the most extreme thrill seekers would hardly be able to withstand the temperatures and conditions there. This is just a small part of what the orbiting Kepler spacecraft have managed to discover. But what has been found is more than enough to realize that the macrocosm is boundless and multifaceted. All we can do is wonder why. Despite the Fermi paradox, no one has contacted us yet. Since ancient times, people have turned their gaze to their closest neighbor, the moon. It is almost as old as the Earth and takes part in many processes that occur on our planet. The moon plays a significant role in biospheric changes. In particular, it is credited with causing tides, which affect not only the world's oceans, but also the Earth's crust. But the main function that scientists attribute to the moon is its stabilizing influence on the Earth. Supposedly, our planet would not have the necessary axial tilt that ensures the change of seasons, and the orbital trajectory would be completely different. That is, we would be drifting in space like a cork in water. It is also believed the moon acts as a handbrake for Earth. If it weren't for its braking effect, a year on our planet would be at least 3 times shorter, and a day would last no more than 8 hours. But not everyone agrees with the statements that have been made. Many astronomers consider them to be exaggerated. In any case, it's foolish to claim that such a close and large object has absolutely no effect on Earth. But for now, the world community is interested in something else. Will we be able to move to the moon once we realize our planet has only a few centuries left? There are fierce debates about terraforming the moon in true Shakespearean fashion, to be or not to be. It would seem that the goal is close, so why not turn the modest satellite into a country getaway for all humanity? But it wasn't that simple. Even old Elon, not a dumb guy as many admit in the comments, doesn't consider the moon as a base for human settlement, preferring the distant, dusty Mars. Why? Maybe it's an inexcusable lack of foresight. It turns out it's not that simple. We can keep repeating moon, 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 but that won't change the situation. The satellite can be considered a staging point for flights to Mars, or it can be turned into a way to demonstrate their political ambitions, as Russia and the United States did in their time. But how should Earthlings treat their mysterious neighbor now? Can people settle on the moon? For example, to terraform Mars, they plan to warm it up a bit and cool Venus down. But how would the moon have to be changed? Most scientists believe that it is absolutely dead. No animals, no birds, not even bacteria have ever lived on its surface. The following facts served as proof. When the American astronauts returned to Earth, they were placed in quarantine for several days, fearing contamination by alien viruses. But the concerns turned out to be unfounded. The spacesuits were completely sterile. Therefore, we are dealing with a lifeless boulder, pitted with craters and covered with a layer of regolith. If we compare Mars and the Moon, the red planet will definitely be the clear winner in the terraforming contest among solar system bodies. The Martian atmosphere consists of carbon dioxide, which is deadly for us, but perfectly suitable for plants. On the Moon, on the other hand, the atmosphere is extremely thin, so its night sky is not much different from the daytime, except that the sun shines dazzlingly in the pitch darkness. For the same reason, there is a huge temperature contrast, with no atmospheric layer to moderate it. The soil and rocks of Mars are rich in valuable trace elements essential for growing crops, while our satellite can boast completely different resources. Take helium-3, for example, an element involved in forming highly efficient thermonuclear reactions. This isotope, which in many ways surpasses uranium and plutonium in its properties, is abundant in the upper layers of regolith. It is planned to be used later for heating colonies. What else is wrong with the Moon? It's tiny, much smaller than Mars, whose surface area is 1/3 of Earth's. But that's the least of the problems. The Moon is not only airless, it also lacks a magnetic field and has extremely low gravity. A 100-kilogram barbell here turns into child-sized dumbbells, and an ordinary long jump stretches to 6 meters. Therefore, the Moon is the perfect location for those trying to lose weight, because here, any weight is significantly reduced. But this can hardly be considered an advantage because the human body is fully adapted to Earth's conditions. The lack of an atmosphere and magnetic field is a significant drawback when it comes to terraforming, because on the Moon, colonists will inevitably be exposed to harsh cosmic radiation. It has been calculated that in just 100 hours, an astronaut would receive a critical dose of X-ray radiation, and during solar flares, deadly rays could kill a person in just a few minutes. Lunar regolith, the moon dust that gets everywhere, also poses a danger to colonists because it can cause lung cancer. The fine-grained material also damages vital equipment in record time, putting it out of operation. Overall, the moon is not the best place not only for human habitation, but even for building a training camp before flights to distant planets, since the conditions on these objects are too different from each other. Our satellite has only two significant advantages that supporters of lunar terraforming emphasize in discussions: water ice reserves and its proximity. Indeed, even Tsiolkovsky developed a project for a space elevator to the moon as something quite realistic and feasible. To fly to the satellite, a spacecraft would need to spend 3 days. For comparison, it takes half a year to fly to Mars, and a photon of light would reach its rocky seas in just 1.2 seconds. But these advantages are outweighed by an ocean of obstacles. The satellite is filled with minerals, so it could become an excellent industrial warehouse or resource base. But species survival is a whole different story. Here, as they say, you shouldn't confuse tourism with relocation. For long-term goals, we'll have to look for a more suitable celestial body. But don't rush to stop the video because we've forgotten about the commercial aspect. Is it profitable to turn the moon into a testing ground for research and resource extraction? It turns out not really. The main reason to do this, helium-3 isotope. But scientists have not yet learned how to adequately control processes involving the aforementioned element. For this purpose, it will be necessary to build an experimental reactor and conduct research on it for at least 20 years in a row. Therefore, the industrial use of thermonuclear fusion will not become possible before the year 2050. And until that time, extracting the isotope is practically useless. The same problem exists with tourism. Selling tours to the ISS has shown that this business is absolutely unprofitable. Therefore, curious Earthlings won't be buying tours to the moon en masse anytime soon. Modern humanity is used to relying on scientific achievements and trusting in rapidly advancing progress. But unfortunately, not everything can always be explained with their help. There are phenomena that do not fit into the generally accepted postulates of science and shake the beliefs of even the most hardened skeptics and atheists. It is quite possible that one day the incomprehensible will find an explanation, just not now. After all, in some matters we are still like clueless infants, looking at the rapidly spinning top with bewilderment, caution, and genuine interest. And no matter what the reasoning is, all these inexplicable facts from the point of view of orthodox science at this stage are often remarkably similar. Clear, we're losing him. Clinical death is one of the most mysterious phenomena that occurs in the world every day. Surprisingly, most people who have gone through this difficult transformation talk about the same signs: the illusion of leaving their own body, a bright light at the end of a dark tunnel, and conversations with long-deceased relatives. Scientists have tried many ways to explain these sensations. They have attributed them to near-death epileptic brain activity, hallucinations caused by hypoxia, loss of temporal and spatial orientation, and an excess of carbon dioxide in the blood. But none of these theories can fully explain the phenomenon of clinical death. A sham treatment. Placebo? The point is that one group of subjects is given the real medicine, while the other is given a vitamin disguised as a therapeutic drug. The person believes they are receiving a modern, expensive medicine, and as a result, their serious condition begins to noticeably improve. Why does this happen? Science cannot provide an explanation yet, but the placebo effect is indeed confirmed by many experiments. And this once again allows us to conclude how much self-suggestion can affect our psychological and physical health. So think only about the good things. Stop winding yourself up and a lot in your life can change. Surely you've wondered more than once, what is it like out there in the vast cosmos? Let's not think about black holes, quasars, or super heavy neutron stars. Let's move on to something even bigger, namely the universe as a whole. After all, many scientists consider the Big Bang Theory, and with it, the birth of the universe, to be almost proven, estimating the universe's age at between 13 and 14 billion years. But is that really the case? Microwave radiation found throughout the vastness of space dared to challenge this assumption. The fact is that the so-called observable universe for Earth is bounded by two polar horizons, which are separated from each other by a distance of 28 billion light-years. Over this unimaginably vast area, the microwave background radiation is relatively uniform. And now, attention, here's the question. How could the warm and cold regions of radiation after the Big Bang have equalized their temperature over an area of 28 billion light-years if the age of the universe is only 14 billion years? After all, nothing can move faster than the speed of light. So far, this question doesn't have a satisfactory answer. UFO? No, I haven't seen it. This point is also related to space, since the appearance of these objects is attributed to aliens. Many have tried to study the phenomenon known as UFOs, both government organizations and enthusiastic amateurs, but so far, the mystery remains unsolved. Meanwhile, documentary evidence of flying saucers dates back to the 10th century AD during the Song dynasty. In the past and present centuries, the appearance of unidentified flying objects has repeatedly caused panic among pilots and disabled equipment. The main hypotheses come down to the mistaken identification of an ultra-modern device of earthly origin, atmospheric optical illusions, hallucinations, or revelations. Does the feeling "I have seen you before" arise? Déjà vu, translated from the language of Alexandre Dumas, means something seen before. Do you think you're the only one certain this has happened to you before? Sorry to disappoint you. 97% of the world's population has experienced this phenomenon. Scientists have only figured out one thing for sure. The effect of false memories occurs more often in people with epilepsy, those who are overly sensitive, poor at handling stress, and impressionable individuals, as well as in teenagers under 17 years old. In other respects, the hypotheses differ. Among them are the mind's associative tricks or micro-disruptions in the memory center. There are also more exotic theories. For example, some people believe that déjà vu is a greeting from a past life or an awakening gift of clairvoyance. Sometimes this effect can resemble the story from the film novella about Shurik and Lydia, who were so absorbed in preparing for their exam. This is by no means a complete list of the unexplained. There is also the inexplicable human intuition, the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, the disappearance of people without a trace, the phenomenon of dark matter and energy, tetraneutrons that are impossible from the point of view of traditional physics, and much more. Hardly any of you remember what happened before you were born, but as soon as you start thinking about it, bam! Flashes of memories from your early years appear before your eyes. But did you really understand everything at that moment? And how could you explain the meaning of the word big? You don't need to be a professional teacher to get this. You just need to take small and big objects and name their characteristics. This shows everything is understood by comparison. Adults explore the world in the same way. That's why there's such close attention to cosmic objects, distances, and processes. But what is hidden behind this veil? And where does the truth lie? No one disputes that mountains are high, oceans are vast, and the distance between Moscow and New York is significant. But in our universe, there are objects that are immeasurably larger, and distances that are far more significant than those mentioned. They are so enormous that an observer on Earth cannot even see stars in real time. For example, we see the sun as it was 8 minutes ago, and it's almost laughable to even mention more distant objects. If we take the units commonly used to measure distances in space, then even within the solar system we use tiny, from a universal perspective, astronomical units. One astronomical unit is the average distance from the sun to the Earth, 149,600,000 kilometers. Beyond the relatively familiar world we know, this unit loses its meaning. Interstellar distances in the galaxy are measured in light years. 1 light year is a number that's hard to even name, 9 with 12 zeros, or more precisely 9.46 times 10 to the 12th kilometers. But even this measure is not enough when it comes to intergalactic distances. Here, the parsec comes into play. Its name comes from parallax second, and it equals 3.26 light years. Further values range from kiloparsecs to megaparsecs. It's the same with sizes. It seems to us that the Earth is very large. That's true considering the tiny size of a human being. Probably ants crawling reverently on an anthill think the same way. Many of us will live our lives occasionally leaving our rooms just to buy milk at the nearest market, never experiencing the greatness and diversity of the Earth. But our planet is just one of the small objects in space. Of course, there are comets, small asteroids, Mercury, and the Moon, after all, which are small compared to the Earth. But there are far more truly gigantic objects. Trying to compare some of them to our tiny planet simply makes no sense. Even within the solar system, comparing Earth to Jupiter is like putting a pea next to a soccer ball. Compared to the Sun, it's more like a poppy seed next to an orange. The volume of our star exceeds that of Earth by 1,301 times, and its diameter by 109 times. But that's just the beginning. If you keep comparing and hit like, you gradually become overwhelmed by a superstitious horror at how enormous cosmic objects can be. For example, the star Betelgeuse, a rather bright supergiant in our galaxy. It is 17 times more massive than the Sun, and its diameter is more than 950 times larger. But that's nothing compared to the monster that's about to become a supernova, located in the constellation Canis Major. The star is 2,000 times larger in diameter than the Sun. That's about 3 billion kilometers, and it's 300,000 times brighter than the Sun. If light were to travel around its equator, it would take 8 hours, but these are just stars. Galaxies. That's where the truly shocking sizes are. If we were given the power to shrink the Sun to the size of a white blood cell and shrink the Milky Way by the same proportion, it would be the same size as Russia. And if you consider that there are billions of galaxies in the universe, it becomes unsettling to realize how small we are in this alien, cold, and vast world. For example, the galaxy IC 1011, which is 350 million light years away from the Milky Way, differs in size from it more than the difference between the Earth and the Sun. Many people interested in this topic have heard about the colossal size of black holes. As an example, we can mention one such giant with the code number 1277, which, for clarity, can be compared to the orbit of Neptune. The latter measures about 8 light hours along its path, and to fly around the mentioned black hole, it would take 4 light days. A single black hole like that could easily swallow the entire solar system without even choking. In the constellation with the romantic name Coma Berenices, there's another giant. Its diameter is 12 times larger than the solar system. Besides, it is 21 million times more massive than the Sun. But there are also objects in the universe whose incredible size completely contradicts all conceivable cosmological principles. For example, the postulate stating that no cosmic body or formation can exceed 300 million light years. This is the so-called end of greatness. But the cosmological framework completely collapses with the existence of an object like the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall. This is a titanic structure made up of galaxies bound together by gravity, and it spans 3 gigaparsecs, or 10 billion light years across. Unfortunately, humanity only knows the size of the observable universe. But even this patch of visible cosmos is immeasurably larger than the solar system. As is tradition, let's give a visual example. If we shrink the solar system down to 1 millimeter, then the universe would be the size of the planet Saturn. You're sure you know the solar system like the back of your hand. And of course, you confidently state that there are only 8 planets, excluding the recently demoted Pluto. If all this is true, then ask yourself an unexpected question. Does the mysterious planet X exist? Today we will take a brief look back at the formation of our common home, the solar system, and we will lift the veil on planetary mysteries. Many people know the sensational story of the discovery of Pluto. Astronomers found out that the orbits of Uranus and Neptune are influenced by some celestial body that has not yet been discovered from Earth. Pluto was found, but the mystery was not solved because the planet is too small to affect the rotation of such giants. So what is affecting these giants' orbits? Thus, scientists came to the inevitable and quite logical conclusion that there is a 10th planet, which must be massive enough to disturb such giants as Uranus and Neptune. And it's so cold that it can only be detected with an infrared telescope. To confirm or refute this incredible hypothesis, NASA launched an orbital observatory. And indeed, in this sector of space, it discovered something massive, dark, and cold. But what it is, they were never able to find out. Our community will take a closer look at this question, especially for its fans. Join the community of curious people. The link is in the description. The Sumerians and the planet of the gods. The civilization that once inhabited Mesopotamia possessed a very high level of knowledge, including in astronomy. Among other things, the Sumerians believed that the solar system had 10 planets, and they called the last one Nibiru. And our channel is called Hubble. Be sure to leave a like, improve your karma. The Sumerians had clear ideas about who lived on Nibiru and how they lived. Here are some facts taken from ancient Sumerian texts. A very wise tribe of Nephilim lived on the planet. They were also called the Anunnaki. Their average lifespan reached 360,000 Earth years. By our standards, these beings were simply enormous. The height of the women reached 3.5 meters, while the men stood 5 meters tall or even higher. There's no need to delve into astrophysical concepts like saying that because of the extreme cold, no one could exist there at all, or that the monstrous pressure would only allow dwarfs to survive on the planet. This is easily refuted. With a very high level of technical knowledge, such obstacles can be completely overcome. If you disagree with this or have what is commonly called an opinion, you're welcome to share it in the comments section. The audience's opinion is very important to us. Leave your comments and show off your erudition. On the Hubble channel, anything is possible. The Sumerians believed that the Nephilim, due to a crisis on their planet, came to Earth where they interbred with primitive humans, and the alien visitors taught humans everything and then destroyed themselves. It's hard to say who was to blame for this. But the echoes of this epic event are reflected in the Bible. Do you remember the legend of Sodom and Gomorrah? The cities blazing with fire and sulfur are nothing but the result of a nuclear collapse caused by total war. The radiation that resulted from the explosions wiped out the Sumerians, and almost all of their knowledge was lost. And finally, the most important thing, frightening information about yet another end of the world, which is directly linked to Planet X. That one orbit of Nibiru around the Sun takes about 3,600 years. And when Nibiru approaches Earth next time so closely that it will be visible from anywhere on the globe, our unprotected planet will face monstrous cataclysms. For example, the global flood in the Bible or the destruction of unsuspecting